before we get into today's video, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel down below. You follow us on our TikTok, our Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube is just down there in the description button. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. It really helps us out. And thank you guys and enjoy the video. We saw Tottenham apparently have expressed interest for Jadon Sancho. And this was according to Gary Jacob. He said Tottenham have registered some interest in Jadon Sancho, and some other reports have said around 50 million is what they'd be willing to maybe spend. So for me, I don't know, this ticks me off because with Tottenham and Daniel Levy, we already have seen the reports that we want to get Harry Kane, right? And we want to pay a reasonable price for him because if you think about it, like I was saying earlier with Mason Mount's contract, Harry Kane only has 1 year left on his contract. He's getting older, and he's only got 1 year left on his contract. So his value, for me, I would pay 70 million for him, but I could see 90 million being like the max. If you're talking 120 million, which some have reported that Daniel Levy wants to sell him for, that's insane to me. And they're playing hardball with him. It's so frustrating because they want to buy Jadon Sancho, and I've also seen reports about Harry Maguire potentially being sold there. So for me, if we do want to sell them to Tottenham, which I wouldn't want to do anyways because they're one of our rivals, I think losing Sancho would be a huge disappointment for me because we know he has talent. We've seen it at Dortmund. He's displayed world-class talent at Dortmund in the Champions League and the Bundesliga, and we can tell if he gets the right pieces around him, he's going to be successful. And I think Ten Hag knows that if he surrounds him with the right pieces and he plays him in the right style of football, Jadon Sancho can be a very successful player. So that's why if we let him go to Tottenham, I would just be fuming. And at this point, I don't even want to say that we could do a Jadon Sancho and Harry Maguire swap for Harry Kane because the way Tottenham have treated this situation is just so frustrating. Daniel Levy is being ridiculously stingy about his price, and they won't even go above 50 million apparently for Sancho when we're trying to get minimum 60, 65 million from him. Because it's like, Jadon Sancho is a very talented player. Although he hasn't played up to the standards this past year and the year before, I think he can still reach those levels that he reached at Dortmund. So for me, I would never want to sell Sancho and Maguire to Tottenham, especially considering that they're not going to give us Kane. So what do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, I agree with you that Sancho should not be sold to Tottenham. But my take is that if we were to, let's say we were open to selling Sancho and Maguire, the only way we can negotiate with Tottenham is if Harry Kane is on the other end of that deal. That's a no ifs and or buts. Like if Harry Kane is in the conversation at all, I think most people would be open for Harry Maguire going the other way. I think some people would be open to Sancho. Personally, I would want to keep him. I think, yeah, like you were saying, he is a very, very bright for Dortmund. I think he can regain that form for Man United. But let me ask you something. If Tottenham come in, say, we want Jadon Sancho and 50 million, and we'll give you Harry Kane, what would you say?
See, I'm like really stingy because I think I have different valuations of different players. And for me, Jadon Sancho, right now, I could see him going for 55, 60 million. So I would actually say no to that because I think Jadon Sancho is more valuable than that. The most I would give, if we sent Sancho to Tottenham and we got Harry Kane in return, the most I would give to Tottenham probably be around 30, 35 million. Just because, especially how pissed they've made me with Daniel Levy just not even being open to Harry Kane moving for 90 million. Because, dude, I don't think he understands. If Harry Kane doesn't sign the contract or a new contract, they could lose him for free next year. And he's only going to be 30. So he still have a decent amount of time left where he can still score a ton of goals in the Premier League. So it's, for me, Daniel Levy needs to be thinking, look, I get that he probably doesn't want to sign a new contract. And if he doesn't, we kind of probably need to sell him now because this is when we can make the most off of him. And I get he's trying to bring his price up, but dude, 120 million, what world are you living in? 90 million max. And 90 million would be good money for Harry Kane on 1 year left on his contract, in my opinion. So I think Tottenham should suck it up and say, look, if you gave us Sancho on 30 million, go ahead. You can have Harry Kane. But it's really frustrating me because if Harry Kane has any ambition, then he would know I need to leave Tottenham because I'm not going to win a trophy here. So honestly, okay, this might sound crazy, but even if he went to Real Madrid, it wouldn't be a bad move for his career because he could go win a trophy there and show people that he has what it takes to win a trophy. Because at Tottenham, does anyone really think they're going to win a trophy? If you really think they're going to win a trophy, I feel like you're kind of deluded. But yeah, I think Harry Kane needs to have the ambition to say, "Look, Daniel Levy, I need a transfer, man. I'm sorry. It's I've done my time here. I've become a club legend. I've scored so many goals here. Can you please just let me go, man? Like, come on. 90 million is way too much for me anyways. Just accept it. What's wrong with you?" So, yeah, I wouldn't accept Sancho and 50 million for Harry Kane just cuz I have different valuations than might be realistic, but I personally think I really rate Sancho. If anything, Sancho at his peak could be maybe just as valuable as Harry Kane. And I know that might be a hot take, but I'll stand by that. Jadon Sancho showed us insane levels at Borussia Dortmund. He is a fantastic footballer. And if we let him go to Tottenham, I think it might be one of the biggest mistakes in Manchester United's history. Genuinely. That might sound like an overstatement, but hey, I rate Jadon Sancho that much. And I really think he can have a climb back. And all the fans that might be laughing at me right now from opposing teams, keep laughing. Keep that same energy. Because I'm telling you, man, Jadon Sancho next year, it's going to be different gravy. I'm telling you. What do you think about the whole thing, Chris?
I Yeah, I definitely rate Sancho. Maybe not as much as you do. I definitely agree that he was different levels at Dortmund, and he can regain that form here. I definitely believe that 100%. But what I'm also thinking is that Harry Kane wins us the league. We get Harry Kane in, we're instant title contenders. We have that 30 goal a season striker every season that we have, and we have Bruno Fernandes creating for him. Obviously, losing Sancho, I think Sancho and Kane together would be a deadly duo. I think they would be very, very good together. But I think given the opportunity to sign Kane on a reduced fee if Sancho were to go the other way, I think under the right terms, I would be okay with it. It's definitely has to be the right terms. I don't want Tottenham um, getting a super good deal off of us. Like, I don't want them ripping us off. So, but we also know we don't have the greatest negotiators in the world, which we were just talking about. So it won't be easy, but I think getting Harry Kane in is so important for us in terms of what we need to step up to that next level. And it's for me, it's kind of become like a whatever it takes thing. Like we need to get him in. Um, so yeah, I no hate on Sancho. I love Sancho. It really hasn't worked out for him yet. I think it can. I definitely believe it can. You know, he's been lacking confidence. He hasn't maybe been playing in the right system with the right players, but there has to come a time where if he's not going to spark up like he has at Dortmund, then those questions can start to be raised. Not yet. I'm not saying we have to get rid of him. He's not going to have a future here. But if there's something involved with Harry Kane, I don't. It would be hard to resist that for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Another player, too, that has lost his confidence, at least we think he might have. He's not playing as much, is Mason Mount. And we've talked about him before, and we talked about him already in this podcast. But it seems like his news just keeps doing the rounds about Manchester United bidding for him and all these things. Recently, today, actually, there was apparently a £40 million bid, and I think it was Matt Law who said it. Yeah, it was Matt Law who tweeted it out saying there was a £40 million bid was rejected by Chelsea, and Manchester United. For me, I think it's smart that at least we're not bidding 60 million right away and stuff like that. But Chelsea, again, just like Daniel Levy, what are we doing, guys? Mason Mount just had the worst season of his career. He didn't play much. I thought he was going to play when Super Frank came in, but apparently Frank Lampard didn't even want to play him that much because I barely saw him play. And so if even the coach that pretty much gave him his opportunity isn't playing him, there's something wrong there. There's a relationship that's maybe not horrible, but I think there's a big relationship problem with Chelsea and Mason Mount. And so 40 million is, for me, I think 40 million would be good for Chelsea because dude, you guys need to sell some players. Plus, 75 million for Mason Mount is ludicrous, man. That's just insane. So I think we can't have another saga where we do the same thing with Leicester, where Harry Maguire, we asked for a lot lower of a transfer fee, and they kept being stingy, and then eventually we just gave in at the end of the window. It's like I really hope that doesn't happen with Mason Mount because he is not a 75 million pound player. 40 million would be good for me. I think that would be good for both sides, but I could see 50, 55 million, but I would never go above 55 million probably. And Chelsea, just like Daniel Levy, need to put some realism into their brains because he has 1 year left on his contract and he could do the same thing Harry Kane could do. He could leave for free. So take the money while you can. It's ridiculous that I'm seeing people saying that Chelsea are right to reject them because no, like, come on, you need to take the money and go. This is not how it works. Like we did this with Pogba. Pogba, we could have sold him. I don't know how much we could have sold him for. Maybe 50 million the season before he left. But he waited on his contract, and then he left for free, and we got nothing out of it. And it's such a shame. But I don't know. These clubs, maybe it's good for us because maybe they're going to make that mistake and they're going to lose him for free next year, and that'll be even harder hit for them because they won't make any money out of him. But who knows? We'll see what happens with that. And then, Chris, also want to talk about Arsenal. Kai Havertz apparently is on Arsenal's radar. And according to reports from Fabrizio Romano, Arsenal are in talks to sign Kai Havertz after positive contacts on the player side. He's keen on the move. Chelsea want around £75 million for Havertz now. Arsenal will not pay that amount. And Real Madrid talks with Kai Havertz are currently off. Arsenal's priority, though, is Declan Rice's transfer. So what do you make of the whole saga with Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, just everything Arsenal-wise? It seems like Arsenal are all over the place.
Like, quickly from a Chelsea perspective, this is not the season to value your players so highly. They really had a horrible season, and to be demanding like 80 million for Mount, 75 for Havertz, it's like, do you really think clubs are going to be paying that? Like, I don't think so. For Arsenal, I think Havertz would definitely improve them. I would say he'd start for them, but I don't think he's really what they need right now. What they need, I think, is like a Rice or Caicedo would really transform them, I think. But for Rice, I don't see them paying more than 80 million for him, in my opinion. And West Ham, now that they're in the Premier League, they stayed in the Premier League this season. They're going to be playing Europa League football next season. Their valuation of Rice is going to remain what it was before, which was well over 100 million. I don't know the exact figure, but they really weren't budging for anything. They weren't trying to negotiate anything really cheap. They said, you can have him, but you're going to have to pay a real premium price. So I think that's why a lot of clubs haven't really tried to even go for Rice because his price has been so high. I think I don't know the terms of Rice's contract, but when that starts to dwindle down, maybe when there's a year or two left, West Ham might have to have another look and say, okay, we're not going to get this much for this player. But what are your thoughts on Arsenal and Havertz?
Yeah, I mean, with the Havertz situation, Arsenal bidding for Kai Havertz is just so fascinating to me because you've got a player in Kai Havertz who we know, just like Jadon Sancho, he has quality. He showed that in the Bundesliga. And if you play him in the right position and you play him with some of the good right players around him, he could thrive. But again, like we've seen it at Chelsea, he has not played well. He has not covered himself in glory at all. But the thing is, for me though, with Chelsea, they're not playing him in the right position.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
They're playing him as striker, and it's just that's not his natural position. So Chelsea, for me, you can't. The one thing that I will say on Chelsea's value of players is that it's hard to value them just because we know a lot of them are good in other situations and would be good. And I think Mikel Arteta, he might see something in Havertz that Chelsea aren't even able to see in Havertz because with Kai Havertz, like I said, he's a very talented player. And if they get him playing right, he could be a valuable asset to Arsenal and he could even propel them a little bit more. I don't know if you could say he's going to win them the league or whatever, but for me, Kai Havertz is a great player. But again, like with Chelsea, you can't say 75 million for Havertz after the season that he and the whole team have had. They literally finished 12th. Chris, I want to take a pause here for a second. Chelsea, any Chelsea fan who comes to us and comments on any of our posts, any of them at this current moment, I dude, you guys need to stop. You finished 12th place in the league and you're still chatting to us. 12th place. You spent over $500 million and you finished below Crystal Palace and Fulham. Those two teams in London are better than you, according to this last season, and you are still chatting to us? Bro, you need to go follow another sport right now, because you should not be talking when it comes to football. Okay? Anyone who's laughing at any other fan base, if you're wearing a Chelsea jersey and you're laughing at any other fan base right now, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. You need to go ahead and pipe down, stop commenting on people's posts, go back to bed. But yeah, let's just get back to the transfer talk. Dude, I don't know. I think with Kai Havertz and Arsenal, it could be a good deal for Arsenal. But again, like, they don't want to get ripped off. And same with us with Mason Mount. We don't want to get ripped off. Because if we do, Chelsea could make that money back to spend it on some smart transfers, which we haven't seen much of those lately, but maybe Moises Caicedo and things like that. And I would not want to be the ones funding them getting that player. So for me, I hope the Havertz move doesn't really happen, just because Chelsea could be giving them a beast that's, I think, way better than we've seen. And if Mikel Arteta, which I like his play style, and I think they play some really attractive football. So if they get Kai Havertz playing correctly, I mean, I don't know, they could really propel his career. So let's move on to one of the bigger transfer though. And this is something that involves Manchester United, especially if Qatar come in and take over Manchester United. There are links, I know this is crazy, to Kylian Mbappe. And look, someone might be laughing at me right now, an Arsenal fan, a Chelsea fan, or whatever, saying, oh, we can't get him, we don't have that pool. But dude, I'm telling you, man, if Qatar comes in, man, the possibilities are endless. And look, if he doesn't go to Real Madrid, which I still think he'll probably end up at Real Madrid, who's to say Manchester United is not a good option for Kylian Mbappe? Chris, just imagine this, man. Just go ahead and close your eyes and imagine this with me. So we got Marcus Rashford on the left. Insane amount of pace. Really good finishing. He's proven that this year. And then on the right, we've got a good winger. We don't know who it's going to be yet because Antony, he's got some clouds on top of him. But a good winger. A good winger will be there. Sancho, Antony, maybe even, I hate to say it, maybe even Greenwood. But up top, think about it. Rashford, your right winger. And then, boom, Kylian Mbappe. Bro, we'd be unstoppable. I'm sorry, that front line would be insane. Like, no, we're contending with City in terms of attackers if we get Kylian Mbappe. So for me, if Qatar comes in and they buy us, bro, Mbappe, you are a Manchester United Red Devil. What do you think about that, Chris?
I think Kylian Mbappe would be the statement signing that we've really needed over the past few years, especially with City, what they've done in creating their attacking depth and what they can do. If we bring in Mbappe, that really sparks a rivalry we haven't seen in the Premier League, really. This is the rivalry on the same level of Ronaldo and Messi, which I think football really, now that we've seen Ronaldo and Messi not playing in Europe anymore, we need to re-spark that rivalry. I think Mbappe and Haaland, both in Manchester, would be an insane rivalry. I think the Premier League should be behind this move. They should, obviously they can't do anything in their power to help it because that would be illegal. But they should really be behind that, because you know what that would do for the league, for viewership, to have that level of rivalry in the Premier League. They're both super, super young. This is like a over a decade, 15-year long rivalry we can see. Obviously, I think Mbappe will play for Real Madrid at one point in his career. Even Haaland too. I'm not sure, but I think having both of them in Manchester would be insane. I think it would be really, really good for the league if they were both playing against each other.
And not to mention Mbappe, recently there have been talks about whether he's going to extend his contract, or I think he has a trigger, like where he can trigger an extra year, but he said he didn't want to do that. And for me, with Mbappe, I think I saw him. I sent the tweet to you where he like talked about some rumor that was online saying that he was saying he's happy at PSG. But again, that's just something like he's not going to come out and say like, oh yeah, I don't want to be here on Twitter. Like that's not a place where he's going to come out and say I don't want to be at PSG. But if he's rejecting these contract offers, I feel like that's a pretty telling sign that look, there's a chance for some teams to go in here and do something. So for me, again, obviously this would not be possible without Qatar coming in. But just imagine, yeah, like you said, imagine the Premier League. You've got Manchester City, the best team in the world probably. Erling Haaland up top scoring, 60 goals a season. And then boom, look, on the other side of Manchester, you've got Kylian Mbappe scoring maybe even 80 goals. Okay, not 80, but 60 goals. And look, the rivalry, bro, like you said, man, the rival would be just absolutely nuts, man. It would be different levels. It might even reach levels above Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. We don't know that. But I would love to see Mbappe and Haaland in the same league playing against each other. I feel like that would be something so special just for the sport and for everyone viewing wise. And I know that maybe that even sounds like a Super League idea, but that's just that could be a reality in the real world in the Premier League if Qatar comes in. And I know fans might be laughing at us, but come on, man. Like you can't deny like Qatar owned PSG. There's so many links with them there. I'm sure they want to bring him in. There's just a lot going for that. And I don't think people can actually dismiss that. And like I saw even some people putting a jersey swap with him in Arsenal. I'm like, dude, come on, people. What are we doing? And then Todd Bowley. No, come on. Guys, he's not going to go to Chelsea. He's not going to go to Arsenal. He's probably not going to go to Manchester United. But out of all clubs in the Premier League, I feel like Manchester United is the most likely destination for Kylian Mbappe. Because Manchester City, they've already got Erling Haaland. But all other clubs, he's not going to want to go there. Also, I don't think anyone else could afford him except for Chelsea. So, for me, I would love if he came. But again, probably not realistic. So
yeah, and just from a PSG perspective, they already had this whole fiasco like 2 years ago or last summer or whenever he signed his last deal. That was such a big shock because everyone thought he was going to Real Madrid, but he signed the new deal, he stayed on, and now he's saying he doesn't want to sign a new deal. PSG are aware of that, and it's been reported that they are not losing him on a free next year. So Kylian Mbappe saying he's happy to stay next year doesn't do anything in terms of PSG's point of view because they're saying we're not giving you away for free. So it's either you sign a contract, which you said you're not willing to do, you want to move on, go to a new challenge, and we want to cash in now. 150 million for Kylian Mbappe. He's hit many peaks. He hasn't hit like his peak yet. That's a fair price for him, in my opinion. 1 year left on his deal, which he said he wasn't going to sign. I personally think he will move on this summer. Probably right now, most likely to Real Madrid. But if Qatar come in, you have Qatar negotiating with Qatar, and it's a lot of it's a very fuzzy because all of that money is somewhat in the same place. I think a deal can definitely be made out between Manchester United and PSG if their owners are from the same country. I think that helps. Obviously, there might be some fishy business going on if that deal were to ever happen, but I think it's a possibility, and I think Mbappe will leave this summer because PSG are, like I just said, they're not going to lose their biggest asset for free, and even piggybacking on that, I think Tottenham should kind of take a note at what they're doing. They're saying we're not losing you for free next year, so kind of cash in now. I think Levy should kind of take a similar approach with that, in my opinion. But we know how much of a stickler he is, so that probably won't happen. But I don't know.
Yeah,
imagine Kane and Mbappe in the same window.
That's not gonna happen. But I think too with Mbappe, you look at it from a Kane perspective too with the whole Kane situation. I find a lot of similarities in terms of, at least when you look at it, Kane has shown so much at Tottenham, and he's done so much for the club. Did he break the record for the most Premier League goals this season? I don't know if he did.
Oh, for Tottenham.
All time, yeah. No, all
For
time.
Tottenham,
Oh, for Tottenham he did, but okay.
he's second, I think.
Okay.
I think he passed Rooney
Yeah,
this
but
season.
I think he can pass sure next year, pretty much. But
I think
even
he's about 60 goals behind. I'm
he'll,
not.
he'll,
Don't fact check me on that.
he'll get there. He'll get there. But
He will.
even with that, he's done so much for them. And same with Mbappe. I mean, he's won the league with PSG. I don't think they're going to win the Champions League. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you, PSG fans, but I don't think it's going to happen. The way you guys are structured, it's not looking great. And for me, with Kane and Mbappe, they need to go out of their comfort zone. They need to seek Champions League glory. They need to seek an actual league for Mbappe. You know, we don't want to see him in the Uber Eats league for the next 10 years. We want to see him competing against some of the top clubs in the world. And there's no better place to do that than the Premier League. Look, you got Arsenal coming up. Manchester City are already one of the best teams in all of the world. Chelsea are probably going to be back soon with all the finances they have. Liverpool, they had an off year this year, but I could see them being back this year. So you've got some of the best clubs in the world in the Premier League. Mbappe, come on, man. Who are you playing every week in, week out? You're playing against a bunch of French bakers, man. Like, come on. Come back to the Premier League. Or not back, but come to the Premier League and show this that you have, you know, all the skill and all the talent to go and win the league, you know? And for me with Kane, too, like, you've done so much for Tottenham, but, dude, you got to win the Premier League. Come on. Like, you could become a legend.
He's not winning the league there.
And if, yeah, he's not winning the league at Tottenham. And if he wants to win the league, he's got to move. And so I'm not saying he's going to make us league contenders right away, which, I mean, he could, but I don't know if we'd actually win the league this next year if he came in or the year after. But he definitely gives us way more of a chance. And so I think both of these guys their ambitions just need to rise because we've seen them in their comfortable spots where Tottenham, he's scoring tons of goals. He's doing, I don't know, I guess they had that one fairy tale season where they won the Champions League final, but they didn't win anything. So his trophy cabinet is empty. And then with Mbappe, bro, you're playing against scrubs, man. I'm sorry. The French league just doesn't cut it. And even moving to Real Madrid, that would still be a level up. So for both of these guys, they really need to increase their ambition. So hopefully we'll see both of them move, but we don't know.